Hello, Ray Phoenix here. Welcome to Let's Play Spyro the Dragon Part 3. So we're almost finished off with the Artisan World, the first world in this game. There's still a few gems hiding around in this world. But those are gems you could easily find. This world isn't really that large compared to some of the other worlds in this game. There isn't really that many places for them to hide, so we could easily find those remaining gems, pretty quickly, actually. Now that we've cleared all the levels and all the regular levels in the first world, it's now time to take on the boss. There's a boss at the end of each world in this game, and the bosses of this game are pretty simple and straightforward. This game actually has more worlds than the sequels do, so therefore there's more bosses in this game than the sequels, but it's more of a quantity over quality approach of bosses in this game, because bosses are pretty straightforward and relatively easy in this game compared to how they are in sequels. The bosses aren't that elaborate. They can just be killed in just a few, just breathe fire on them a few times, they're dead kind of thing. Sometimes you have to follow a preset track. It almost becomes like Crash Bandicoot almost, where you just follow a preset track and run up to the boss and fry him or flame him or something like that. So we're gonna go take on the first boss. I think his name is, Toasty. We're going after Toasty. Confronting Toasty. That's a perfect name for the first boss of this game, Toasty. He's named after what he's gonna be after he comes across us, because we're gonna fry him to a point where he's very toasty. Just like a cheese toasty, like those things like to have for breakfast a lot of the time, as breakfast toasties. Yeah, they have these guard dogs everywhere, and these bearded guys in robes that have those cane things that like to whip Spyro with them. Now, Spyro is theoretically a small target, but even then, he's big enough of a target for them to hit Spyro. He's not that small. And he is a kid dragon after all. I wonder if they ever will make a game about Spyro when he grows up. I think they tried doing something like that maybe, and then, but it didn't really turn out very well. But after the PS1 era of Spyro really went, into a dark age where we don't really know where companies weren't really sure how they should take on Spyro. Insomniac didn't want to take on Spyro any further. Several companies thought they could take on Spyro further, and they made Spyro 4, which is considered by many people to be a catastrophic failure. I don't think it's an overly bad game, but I definitely see its flaws. Definitely it's nowhere near as good as the first three Spyro games. It's almost like a science. Like, how do you make something this bad? Spyro is something that's supposed to be good. It's just like Sonic the Hedgehog or Mario or what else? There's Rayman or things like that. It's like something that's written to be, good. This is written to be, something that's supposed to be good. So how do you make this bad? That's actually quite of a challenge, actually, making something bad. Most people would say they did that with Spyro 4, man, when they succeeded at making what's supposed to be a really good game bad. So it's kind of like trying to hide around these walls here and trying to snipe out these dog things, these guard dog things, and those other weird enemy things that just have the sticks that they hit Spyro with. Just run and charge into these things and collect all the gems. There's still a lot of gems in these boss levels. I still have to collect every single gem possible, with me being the completion freak that I am. So this guy's just gonna give some tips of advice on how to take on this boss coming up, saying like, oh, this guy's a wuss. He's a complete total wuss. Just destroy his guard dogs and fry him a few times, and then he's dead, and then he's gonna be what his name is, Toasty. But he's making it seem like, he has a lot of tricks and things. He's really he's really ramping up this boss. He's really like up playing what this boss is. Like, oh, you better be careful of this boss. You don't want to get on his bad side. It almost looks like the Bizarre Creations mascot. I remember Bizarre Creations was the company, I think, that developed Formula 1 on the PS1. And they had a mascot or a logo or something that looked a lot like the boss they're fighting right now. Some pumpkin head guy that has a scythe, and he's flying on a broomstick. Well, the logo is on a broomstick. I'm thinking the logo one for Bizarre Creations had a scythe like that, where he looks like the frickin' Grim Reaper. I don't know, maybe he stole it from the Grim Reaper, maybe. But considering how he goes down like a complete total wuss, I highly doubt he took it from the Grim Reaper. I've been watching Billy and Mandy a lot lately. I think Billy and Mandy's a very entertaining show. It's one of my favorite Cartoon Network shows. It's a lot like, it's kind of like Cartoon Network's version of Fairly Odd Parents in a lot of ways, in which they have similar art styles. And they're both about kids that can pretty much have anything they want, and are friends with some ultra-powerful beings. They can have, the power of the cosmos on their side. So we have 13% of the game overall completed, and we've completed this level. I remember Billy and Mandy was also part of the Cartoon Network City Age, which I first discovered the City Age around the time I was playing this game back in 2011, when I would spend the better of my days either playing this game or going on YouTube to look up YouTube videos. I came across all kinds of videos back in 2011. I remember coming across the Cartoon Network City Age and all those awesome bumpers there. That's actually my favorite era of Cartoon Network. I loved, say what you will about the City Age. I think the City Age was very, it was very creative and imaginative, and the ideas behind it was really good. There's even some lost media associated with it too, because I've been a big part of the lost media. I mean, lost media has become like one of my biggest interests. I recently drew a work of art just yesterday that was a parody of something lost media related. I think out of all the lost media things I discovered from watching lost media videos on YouTube, one of my favorite things that I want to be recovered would probably be the Batman fights Dracula movie. I even drew a parody of it yesterday called Captain Fusion Fights the Wolfman. Yeah, Captain Fusion, it's not the real Captain Fusion, it's the Filipino Captain Fusion. He's gonna fight against the Wolfman. It's a comedy movie apparently, and has nothing to do with for the real Captain Fusion, right? That official stuff. It's completely unmade, completely unlicensed. And that's where it gets its charm from, I guess. So now we're completely finished with the Artisan world. We're now going on to the Peacekeeper world. More like the War Makers world. That would be a better title for this world, the War Makers world. There's no peace in this place. It's a war zone. There's people who walk around with tanks that go, war, what is it good for? No, they don't do that in this game. They actually just people that have like muskets and old-fashioned 1700s 18th century cannons kind of thing. They look like warriors from the 18th century. The revolutionaries that would be helping America in their Revolutionary War possibly, or maybe some other colonial war or something. Maybe it's colony wars or something like that, or some sort of war for a colony or something like that. Well, nevertheless, we still have to kill these guys and get their gems and collect everything there is associated with them. You can even use those tanks too, because Spyro can use his breath to ignite those tanks and actually fire cannonballs at things. Fire cannonballs at targets and destroy things to unlock more stuff. It's going to take on the first level. Well, this will be the first level we'll be taking on in this world, the Dry Canyon. I can imagine the Free Stooges appearing in this level and doing their, like, Free Stooges antics. The Free Stooges are the best kinds of soldiers you could have. These soldiers are a lot like the Free Stooges. They're all really dumb. They accidentally hit each other a lot. Sometimes on very rare occasions, they even kill each other by accident, too. I don't know if they do it it probably is by accident. I don't think they would intentionally kill each other. I know that happens all the time in Ratchet and Clank games. I've been playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank games again recently. I just started playing the first one again. It was the first time in 11 years I played the original Ratchet and Clank. I'm not even that familiar with it that much. I played the sequel so many times, but I never actually played the original that much. I just kind of rediscovered it. Never realized how much of a villain Captain Quark was. And Ratchet and Clank was made by the same people who made these Spyro games, Insomniac Games. So I could definitely see it where it has Spyro influence from Spyro. It even has influence from Crash Bandicoot. And I've been playing Ratchet and Clank Size Matters as well for my live streams. I actually started playing that game more than a week ago's live stream. And just last night I played it again, and I actually made it like to the final boss of this game. There's absolutely no margin of error for the final boss in that game. You just get hit once and you're dead, kind of thing. So you much have to do like a hit list, like what do you call it, like a perfect run kind of thing. Kind of like that guy I used to watch a long time ago on YouTube, but around the same time he playing this game too. His name was Rome Mithril. He would do perfect runs of the Mega Man games, or the classic Mega Man games. He played for all the Robot Masters and not take a single hit. It's a very masterful challenge. It makes him one of the greatest gamers I've ever heard of. Another one thing that also makes him the greatest gamer I've ever heard of, the fact that he beat Ghosts and Goblins on the NES. It's considered to be one of the most challenging games ever. I've never gotten past the first screen of that game, and yet he could get through the entire game, so go figure for him, I guess. I guess that makes sense considering how powerful of a gamer. He's obviously like a godly grand master at gaming. And I'm just an average master at gaming. If you can even call me a master at gaming, I consider myself to be a pretty hardcore gamer, even though I pretty much only play classic games. Some people would disagree with that and say, oh no, real hardcore gamers only play modern, current games. I'm starting to have nostalgic memories at times of people would tell me, why don't you play stuff like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto or Halo? But no, you play Spyro, that's lame. Yeah, that was going on like 13 years ago. That's so when I would play this game that was going on. And to this day, people still ask me the same question. I guess it's good to see that some things never change. Some things, indeed never change. Like Spyro never changes, for example. The reason why I'm such an expert of Spyro is because I play it tons of times, because it never changes. This game is currently the way it is now, as it was back in 1998 when it was first released. It always has been like that, and always will be like that. Spyro will always be Spyro. There'll never be any changes to Spyro or updates, unless someone can like use the internet or something like that to update my disk, but I highly doubt that's possible. I don't even think the PS1 was capable of going on the internet. Some people claim it is capable of going on the internet, but even then, even if you could go on the internet for PS1, what would a PS1 on the internet be able to do? Just browse stuff or browse basic stuff? There isn't really much you could seriously do with a system like that. None of the PS1 games support online play. So I don't think you'd be able to play people online. And its processor probably wouldn't even be able to handle any real modern internet stuff, just like going on air with an old computer, which is still kind of an interest of mine. I still like trying to go on the internet with an old computer, try to pump life back into old computers. It may be possible to install a virtual machine for Windows 10, so you could use Windows, so you could pretty much use Windows 10, or it's a virtual machine on Windows XP, but you could run Windows 10 on the virtual machine on Windows XP, so you could pump life back into a Windows XP computer. That sounds pretty good too. Speaking of pumping life or death back into things, my original Xbox is pretty much fudged at this point. When I came back, the first thing I did after I came back from a long trip to Australia was go to turn on my Xbox. Well, this is actually years ago, and it wouldn't work at all because the capacitors in it ruptured and they leaked all over the circuit boards and destroyed it. This time around, years later, I come back from Australia. Several weeks after I return, I try and turn on my Xbox. It works, it turns on. I can play all my music again that I loaded onto it over the years, but it doesn't read any discs anymore. The laser appears to be shot. I thought I might be able to mod it so it could play like emulators or stuff like that, but no, as it turns out, you actually need discs to install Linux onto your Xbox. That's the only way to do this, you're putting discs into the Xbox, which is something my Xbox clearly can't do because the laser on it's dead, so I guess that Xbox is fudged then, and I don't plan on buying another new Xbox. It's the second time I had to buy an Xbox, an original Xbox, because the first one broke down, the second one also broke down, the second one's pretty much broken down too. They're just gonna keep breaking down, and there aren't even, the worst part is there aren't even any good emulators right now for Xbox. Or at least not yet. I'm sure there will be eventually. Pretty much any gaming system you can think of will eventually have emulators for it. I don't think it'd ever be possible to emulate Sharp 86, 8000, or whatever it's called. That was a computer from Japan that had a Geograph seal on it, and I finally got to play the precursor to Jumping Flash. So, and I'm using one of the emulators in RetroArch, so I guess everything is, it probably will be possible to emulate Xbox eventually, but that's still several years away. Xbox is a challenging system. Heck, this computer, it's a really big challenge for my computer to emulate GameCube and PS2, and yeah, I just found out that my A53 phone could actually emulate PS2 somewhat okay. The textures are completely broken. It's hard to tell what's going on in the game more than 90% of the time, but it somewhat works. And then I got to play Super Monkey Ball for GameCube on it using the Dolphin emulator for GameCube on Android. It works really well. I could plug my controller into, recognize my controller. I actually got to play Super Monkey Ball with a PS1 controller on my phone. Imagine how many external things is that? A phone, the game, the controller for PS1. And just this morning too, I found out that I also got to run Wii games as well too. I got to use it to play LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga. I haven't been able to mount my controller properly, so I use the on-screen controls to play LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga for a little bit, and oddly enough, it actually worked pretty good. The controls were not garbage. I thought the controls would be garbage, but they weren't actually. They're on-screen controls. I had some real bad experiences of on-screen controls. But until recently, I came across some emulators that have actually decent on-screen controls, like that GameCube Wii emulator, Dolphin, as well as that Game Boy Advance emulator called Pizza Boy. It's a Game Boy Advance emulator for Android. Actually, the on-screen controls work fine, and that emulator even works on the A04S phone. That's not that surprising, because it's just Game Boy Advance. I remember those netbook computers that my father had back in 2010 were capable of emulating Game Boy Advance perfectly fine, without any real issues, other than the fact that it's on a keyboard and a small screen, and I didn't have a controller at the time. But other than that, the games emulate perfectly fine, so it's not really saying much. Just about any phone these days, even those poverty-level phones that the government gives to people for free, could probably run Game Boy Advance games, because, because of how, it's really easy to emulate Game Boy Advance. There's still like 80 gems left in this level, so I'm gonna go deep into exploring this level, just running around like a maniac trying to find those last few gems. The game does this to us a lot. This is where Spyro 1 really gets its challenge from. This is a real challenging factor on Spyro 1. It's not about finding enemies or killing enemies or getting through the levels, really. It's mostly about finding the hidden secrets, which is what we're trying to do right now. Okay, so I think I found some of them. There's some gems. Yeah, so you found them. You have to run around. There's no mapping system at all in this game, so you're going to get lost a lot in this game. There's no, they're going to get lost a lot. So there's a lot. That's what I meant. I remember the first video I mentioned that there's a lot of exploration required for this game. And this definitely is like an exploration-heavy game, kind of like Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie, I think, came out the same year as this game. And Banjo-Kazooie was known for having a lot of exploration, a little too much exploration sometimes, to a point where it nearly killed the game for me. And to this day, I still haven't beaten Banjo-Kazooie. Then again, I haven't been actively playing Banjo-Kazooie in a long time. I only really do Let's Plays of games that I've beaten, so you know I've beat this game before, because I'm doing a Let's Play of it. If I never beat Spyro before, then I wouldn't be doing a Let's Play of it then. There's this firework things, like just breathe your flame breath, and then it leaves these fire of some gems. I think gems is all that's left in this level. I think we pretty much have all the dragons pretty much for this level. At least I think we do. I think there was an egg in this level too, but we collected that too. We already have. There's only like, I don't know how many eggs. It's only like 10 eggs, and they only seem to exist in earlier levels of this game. So it's really easy to collect all of them. I mean, they're all confined to the first worlds of the game, which are some of the more easier levels. This game does get significantly more challenging the later levels, but nothing is too much of a challenge since I've, played this game so many times. I could probably play this game in my sleep eventually. Well, actually not that good. I could play this game in my sleep, but I really could if I played this all day, every day, to a point where it's burned in my retinas. Kind of like that torture video I watched a long time ago where someone stuck someone's eyelids open and forced them to just look at nothing but that god-awful Nintendo Virtual Boy system, whatever it was called, for like 24/7 straight or something like that. So we have this game 18% complete, so we're really getting far in this game. Of course, it's easy to make a lot of progress in the earlier levels of this game, because these are the easier levels, but progress isn't going to be as easy to make in those. It's going to get a lot slower in the later levels of this game. We're going to spend several hours on end going around levels trying to find something. Then we find out, oh, it's a simple thing like that, just like in Doom, where you spend a lot of time walking around and you find, it's like, oh, there it is. This is Ray Phoenix, signing out.